Hello and welcome to Pax Area Gaming, bonus episode 4 of Crimson Desert. This is Reg with the final episode in our playthrough of Crimson Desert. What we're going to give you in this episode is a little summary of where we are in terms of things accomplished, a big battle with the Forgotten General. We're going to be moving to our home in Pailune. We're going to complete the dimensional bonds, and we are going to get the true ending of the game. All of that will happen within an hour. So hopefully you've enjoyed this journey so far, and hopefully you'll enjoy this video and hit the like button. More importantly, subscribe if you haven't already. Next up, in terms of playthrough, will be Neo 3. So that should begin next week. This video you will see on Friday, the 17th of July. Okay, so let's get started. This is Howling Hill. You'll recognize this. One of the last few times that you'll see Howling Hill. We said we're going to start with the Forgotten General. Before we get to the Forgotten General, who is located up here in the Odek region, we're going to show you quickly what's been happening. So the Abyss gates, it says 40 of 40. I'm going to show you the dimensional bonds, which is the last one. So when I started, this was 39 out of 40. So that happened sort of after the video. But I decided to put it in the beginning because the end of the video it doesn't seem to fit at the end. This is sort of what's been happening, and you can see how much of the game I've done and how much I haven't done. There's still a lot to be done. I hate the mini games, so I'm probably not going to ever do that. As you can see, Hernand is probably the most complete of all of them, although Timinus is pretty good too, as is Delicia. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Okay, so I've done a lot in each of the areas. I haven't tried to get every mount in the game. So the things I've sort of focused on are things that I actually completed. The things I wasn't focused on, as you can see, are things that just were not completed. I'm actually surprised about the gatherables because that was happenstance. I just gathered things along the way. I didn't go out with a plan to actually gather all the gatherables. Collectibles obviously needs work. Crafting needs work. A lot of this other stuff does as well. Memory fragments. So the good thing is if you want to 100% the game, you sort of know where you need to go to do it, right? There's no mystery as to what to do. There are 2 bosses left in the game, not including the Forgotten General. They're both in Hernand, and I don't know where they are. I've tried to, I'm assuming they're locked behind a particular quest that I haven't done in Hernand, so I'm not going to worry about it. So this is Hernand, memory fragments of bosses. As you can see, there are only 2 left. Pailune is complete. All the other ones are complete. You see the 2 at the bottom there. And that was, again, this is after the Forgotten General. So I'm not sure where those other 2 are. Eventually I will find them because I will continue to play. This is the Abyss. And in order to get to the last one, the dimensional bonds, you need to complete the other 39. You cannot access, you will access the dimensional bonds in your fight with Caliburn at the very end of the game, at the end of the main game, but you won't be able to complete the dimensional bonds at that point unless you've done the other 39 abyss areas, abyss islands, abyss gates, whatever you want to call them. And I had not done that, so I ended up having to go back and do most of them post-game. Because during the game, I think you only end up doing 7 or 8 of them. Okay, so where we're heading now is to the Forgotten General. She is one of the toughest boss fights in the game, if not the toughest. I found her to be more difficult than Caliburn and more difficult than Mirrodin, the Umbra Mirrodin at the end of the game, and more difficult than Umbra itself, because Umbra was a sort of a gimmick boss. you weren't meleeing with Umbra. You were just dodging projectiles and heading for Umbra's eye.
Tomb of the
This
Forgotten
one,
General.
you actually have to fight. And fighting her is well, after the first time. I mean, she killed me like within 15 seconds, maybe even 5 seconds the first time I fought her. After that, I can stay alive with her, but it was her shadow soldiers that kept killing me. And I tried flying up in the arena. I tried sitting on some area up above, which I couldn't do. I guess they may have patched that because it used to be a way to cheese her, but I could not figure that out. But I probably ended up fighting her maybe 30 or 40 times before I finally decided, okay, go and get some refined Palmer pills and then come back and fight her. So to me, that was the way to go. When I started this fight, I didn't have any Palmer pills. Neither kind, the refined kind or the regular ones. I figured the Watcher pack would help build up her sort of poise meter, and it does. But you still have to stay alive in order for you to be able to get the critical hit. See her little shadow clone thingies? I mean, they're on a grid, and so you can. The very first time I fought her, this was without the Palmer pill stuff, right? I happened to be standing in the right spot, so the little shadow ones didn't get me. So I actually got her into the second phase of the fight. Actually, this is not really a second phase, but I got one of the critical hits on her. And then from that point, it's like the developers must have said, okay, he's found a nice little cheat space to stand, so what we're going to do is we're going to make the game so janky that he can never stand in that spot again. And so I kept getting killed. This fight probably took over 3 days. After the first 2 days is when I decided to go and get the Palmer pills that I have now. And I didn't have the materials to craft them, and I didn't feel like farming the materials to craft them. So what I did was I went to some of the caves that I had not completed. Because generally speaking, unless they're mining caves, there's always a refined Palmer pill in the cave. There's at least one in the cave. I did make one regular Palmer pill. I ended up with 3. I don't know how I ended up with 3. I must have found 2 more somewhere. She hits incredibly hard. And I read a comment that she was like the millennia of this game. And you know what? Maybe. She doesn't, I actually think she's a little bit easier than Millennia because she doesn't heal. Right? But she hits so hard. And she has a pretty fair amount of health. So if you just keep force punching her, yeah, that's the thing you have to worry about. And so when I didn't have the Palmer pills, whenever, she wasn't the one that was killing me, it was her little shadow soldiers that kept killing me. And that was very frustrating because they, as you can see, they sort of hang out doing nothing. And then when she raises her, and once they start doing that, it's almost like you can't get out of, you don't have a chance to reset. When the first wave hits you, it sort of pops you out of, some stance, and then you're busy trying to get back up, and the next wave hits you, and it just keeps doing that until you die. And there is a way to prevent her from doing that, but you sort of have to stay close to her. The sole reason for the refined Palmer pills is because of those shadow things, not because of her. So you want to keep her stunned like this and just keep hitting. Now you're going to run out of stamina, so I don't know, unless you have some kind of buff that gives you sort of unlimited stamina, I don't know how you can keep doing that. So if you just, I think I went in with 5 refined Palmer pills. And I think at the end I had one or 2 left. I didn't have to use all of them. But this is like one of the, I forget what you call those guys, like the 3 ancient ones that you had to fight for Assyrian, the giant snake. Like those guys were a lot like this. Got a lot of health, but you were fighting them one-on-one. This one, it's one-on-one until she calls out her little shadow troops, and then you're just in trouble. It was a good fight. It was one of the best ones in the game. There's another one. There's another one too. It's a Titan. Well, too bad I found this like at the end of the game, since I'm never going to use it. I guess if there's a new game, a DLC, and you get to keep everything, then I'll have it in my inventory. But there's another boss. It's a Titan, and a sort of an electrified Titan, which is a very difficult fight. Unless you have electric resistance or lightning resistance armor, which you, at this point in the game, is end game stuff, you should have. Even if you're not wearing it, it should be in your inventory somewhere. But that made the fight more difficult because I was just being stubborn and I didn't want to go and change it. I'm like, I don't feel like going and changing to it. Lightning resist. So I had lightning resist gloves on and figured that would help. And it did. It's just timing your dodges. Once I figured out that if you hit the unprotected part of his hand, you can do real damage. I was never able to climb onto the Titan's shoulder and then to his back where his weak point was. Because I think that was how the developers intended for you to actually destroy that one. Okay, so now that the Forgotten General is done, we are now going to finally move from Howling Hill to Pailune. To do that, we need to talk to Marcus Circus.
Hi.
Are you talking to?
For once, the day played in my favor.
Sometimes I can never tell who's saying "Hey,
as
you."
long as my pockets are full, my worries can wait.
Not sure whether it was this guy, but I'll listen to him. So we're gonna go to Lord Circus. Tell him we're leaving. Actually, when we show up, he's gonna know we're ready to move. And to be honest with you, I was ready to move a long time ago because the camp is just too packed with people. I spend more time in my little house on the other side of the ravine than I do at the actual camp because there's just way too many people.
Hey, the village is quite lively these days.
Yeah, buddy. Come on, you're messing up my thoughts.
I'm off for a stroll around the neighborhood.
So, I mean, as you walk through the Howling Hill camp, you're bumping into
Help me out or not?
people, and people are greeting you, and I don't like walking by and not greeting people back when they greet me. In real life. So even in the games, I'm like, okay, well, he just said hello. I guess I should say hello. And by the time I get to
I'm in a good mood again today.
the tent, I would have already talked to like 12 people.
Makes the day pass fast.
I'm like, okay, no, just go back to your little house. You have a fast travel point there. You don't even need to walk through the tent, through the Howling Hill camp. Okay, so we're gonna talk to Circus. Let's go talk to this Lord Circus.
Yeah.
I have heard word that you have reclaimed your homeland.
Yep.
We did. It was a long battle. Then I surmise you're here to discuss your departure.
Yeah, buddy.
Aye. We're just about to head off.
Thanks for everything.
You've done Hernand an invaluable service. I trust you will regard it as your second home. And visit us from time to time.
Of course.
Of course. We're truly in your debt.
Okay. That initiates the move. So all you need to do once you make sure all the other conditions are met is to go and talk to Lord Circus. And then go back to your camp. So there's nothing else you need to do in Hernand. You obviously can always travel back to Hernand to do other things. Because there's still a few other minor quests and stuff to do in Hernand. So the map should be fully available to you at this stage of the game. Now you can move earlier. I made it a point not to move until post-game after the epilogue, because I thought it was more fitting, and just before the true ending. I thought both those things were fitting for moving. This thing only ever produced a couple of abyss cells and no more. Even though I fertilized them, I'm waiting for more, and it just doesn't happen. So anyway, so we're going to take a little walk through the camp. See how crowded it is? It's just like really
You're still here.
cluttered with people. I need space. I need I need a little solitude. This is like, look at this. Look at it. Everywhere you look. When we first came, it was just Kliff's tent and, you know, a few other places around. And then we continued to expand and we got more Greymanes. We got 37 of them. I still think the number should be 40. So maybe they're buried behind quests somewhere. Or I'm wrong, one or the other. The 37 we have are named. They're other Greymane, but we don't know their names. But the 37 all have names. They're all individuals that we can actually interact with. Well, Howling Hill, W. This was nice. Nice of Circus to give us a place to live. In return, we protected and defended Hernand. But there's still two bosses somewhere in Hernand that we haven't gotten rid of. And we're going to make the trip across the way to Pailune, which we've done some constructing in. That's one of the conditions as well. There's certain things you need to do in Pailune as well in order to be prepared for the move. Now, once you move, there's still other things that you need to do. Or other things that you can do. You know, there are like a gazillion question marks in Pailune for me to do as Kliff. And after 3 months of Crimson Desert, I'm ready to not do any more of those little side quests for a little while. But it was an incredibly fun game. I mean, it was challenging. Parts of it was very challenging. Okay, proud returnee. So we finally, after all of that, remember, people forget that the objective of this from the very beginning was to get back home. After the black bears scattered them all over the place by trying to kill them all. So back we go. Now, the one thing is the layout is obviously very different from Howling Hill. We knew where everything was in Howling Hill. In Pailune, you sort of have to relearn where all of these guys are. You know, they're all still there. You know, your dye guy is there. Your wagon guy is there. Your barber is there. They're all still there. You just have to find them because the layout is different. I couldn't even find Kliff's house for the first 20 minutes. I wandered around. I'm like, I know they have to have given him a home. You know, they don't expect him like.
Ah, that's you. I was just thinking about. What was I about to do?
I don't know, buddy. You're interrupting my thoughts.
Lost it.
Okay, so I finally had to go to the map and look for his home and put a mark on it. I was like, okay, For 20 minutes, I've been wandering through every building saying, I guess this is not it. This is not it. No, this is way too small. This is not it. And finally, I went to the map, which I should have done in the beginning, I guess. Um, so everything that was in your old place is in your storage. They become placeable items. So when you walk into the new home, it's going to be empty. And you basically have to sort of rebuild everything. Looks like they just picked up the old house and put it right in the spot. But we're going to change the old house. We kept it this way in Howling Hill. We could have always changed it to one of these other styles. So over here, actually, I see all the pictures and stuff on the wall. But you'll see what happens. Watch what happens. So we will change it. Oh, and maybe it was because we changed it. Maybe if we had left the house exactly the same, everything would have still been in the house. So maybe that's what it was. Because we changed it, we ended up having to replace everything in the house. I just figured that out. So this is the new house. It fits more with the Pailune style than the old house. And it's a little bit bigger. And the farm is right outside, which has nothing in it because you couldn't. That was the other thing. You can't move your crops. I'm assuming that the animals, it was in the like the animal farm part of it is somewhere else. I don't know where it is yet, but I'm assuming it's somewhere. So
Learn your herbs. Wounds don't always wait on healers.
So Camus is here.
Know the basics.
Buddy, I don't know whether I have any seeds to plant anything right now, and it's a much bigger space. It's like twice as large as the other space with room to expand. So unless you've been selling your seeds, you probably have like a couple of them, which I do. So I'll plant the 2 that I have, and at some point, again, when I continue play, I'll come back and put some more stuff in there. I don't know why they don't do that. Why are they making Kliff do all of this work? Hasn't he done enough for the group? I mean, really? Okay, so with that done, we are now going to the dimensional bonds. This is where we fought Caliburn, but we weren't, or we did not, fully explore the dimensional bonds. We got to a door with a symbol on it. We unlocked that symbol, went in and fought Caliburn and fought Mirrodin, and then ended up fighting Umbra, which sort of took us into space. So we really didn't have an opportunity to explore the dimensional bonds. There are 7 what you call these things? There are 7 of these. You have to activate 7 of, I'll just call them 7 of the bond. What do you call it? 7 of the power cores. Let's call them that for the bonds. As you see, there are 2 fast travel points. There are actually more than 2. I think there are a total of 4 if you can find them. We're going to find one more. I don't think I ever found the last one. But the one we want to go to is the one on the left. After we do this, because the first one of these is very easy if you land where I started. It's like right over. You'll see in a sec. This is a little bit of a confusing place, and the trick that I used, and I'll tell you that in a second, was always going back to the door where we fought Caliburn, and using that as my my central starting point, which then allowed me to, okay, do I need to go left or go right, and not keep going in the same, and not keep sort of messing up in terms of where I should go. Let's grab these things. I don't know what you're going to use these for, but we'll grab them anyway. Yeah, this is not a difficult, there are no enemies here, so it's not a difficult it's not as difficult as some of the individual Abyss Gate areas or Abyss Islands that we needed to traverse, to get to number 39. So the first one is right over here. So we're going to activate this. And you don't have to do anything at all. All you need to do is activate it. They won't all do that. I'm not sure why this one did what it did. Or maybe they do and I just get there after it does it. I don't know. So you want to just... You can either force palm it or you can force current it. Now that you have the force current skill, you should have that by now. It's just easier to attach the sort of Axion Claw and then force current it. It does the same thing. Okay, so this one is activated, which means we should have 2 activated because we did 1 during the Caliburn fight. Or prior to the Caliburn fight. Okay, so if you wonder why am I pausing here, it's because I have to look at my notes. It was the only way I could sort of figure out my way through this area. Okay, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to start at the door, right? That's what I mentioned. So we're going to go back, and the only reason we came to this one is because we happened to see it. And so we just went with that instead of not doing it. This is what we're trying to accomplish. If you look at these, you'll see 2 are done. 1 was done earlier and 1 we just did. And there are 5 more to do. Those are the little question marks. And so we're going to take them one at a time. But we're going to go back. We're going to fast travel back to the left-hand side of that map. When you open a map, on the left, the fast travel point to the far left. That one right there. We're going to fast travel back there because that's the easiest path. At least for me, that was the easiest path to the door. And the smart move is to put a marker, drop a marker at that door. So you'll always know where it is in reference to where you are. Now, the problem is when you go to these other areas to unlock the little power dials, sometimes it's on a different level and you can't get back up to where the door is. And so it's just easier to just come back to this fast travel point. At least for me. Others, might not have an issue with it. Shockingly, I did not die at all, or fall. I guess you don't necessarily die if you hit fast travel while you're falling. But I didn't fall at all when I was doing this, which is pretty amazing. Because I think for every other one of these puzzles up here, I fell at least once. I think the difference is earlier in the game I had less stamina, so it was a little bit different. Now at this point in the game I think my stamina might be, if it's not maxed, it's 1 away from being maxed. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the door. So you're going to go off to the right where the beautiful little flowers are. This is... Okay, this is not the door. Okay, yeah, okay. So you're gonna... This little teleport, this portal. So when you come in from the direction I just came in, you're always gonna go past the flowers. You can come here, and this little fast travel point will always be active. And that will take you to right in front of the door that I was referring to. I think that was actually activated when we fought Caliburn, because that's how we got to this door. So from this door, you're going to use this door, or at least I used this door as the reference point for all the other power dials, or whatever you want to call those round things. Again, I'm very note dependent here to make sure that I'm not doing the same one over and over and over again, because some of these areas look very similar. But if you get lost, you just go back to your starting point and then follow. Yeah, I did not mean to catch on there. I don't think it really matters what order you do them in. If you're just wandering around and you're trying to find them and you happen to find them, it doesn't matter what order you do them in. It doesn't change the outcome of of what these unlock at the very end. So as long as you do them all, if you haven't done them all, you will not get the cutscene indicating that you've done them all. And if you haven't done all the other gates, the other 39, you won't be able to do these at all anyway. So it does definitely want you to actually, it's a requirement. It's one of the conditions you have to meet. So not much you can do about that. And I would suggest you don't do what I did, which is to wait until the very end of the game, actually post game, to do them. Once I found out there was a true ending, that you can only get it by doing that, that's when I said, oh my God, I got to do these things. If you'd been doing them in game, several of them will unlock the elements that you use. The fire and ice elements are in the same in the same cluster, so that would have been easy for you to get. Wind and lightning are in different ones. So again, you're just using your axiom force, and then you're doing this. That's all you're doing. You don't have to do anything else. If you want to watch it spin like I do, then that makes you happy, that's fine. So this is another one done, and we're going to go back to the start. I cut out some of this because you guys don't need to see me jumping my way over there again. You go back to your little transporter, which should take you back to the door. It drops you right in front of the door. I wish I had checked the time before I came and made sure I was doing all of this in the daytime, but no worries. The areas where we need to go, there are lights. And it can be confusing. And there's at least I couldn't think of a way on the map. Like that one is already done because you can see it's already lit, the little dial in the middle. There didn't seem to be a way for me to, I guess I could have put markers on every one of them we did. The problem is they're not all at the same level. They're at different depths. So even if you put markers there, well, I guess the markers would keep count, but you don't need to do that because you can just pull up the menu and it'll tell you how many of them you've done and which ones you've done. So not sure how helpful that would have been. So it does get, like I said, it does get a little tedious, like that one. Okay, that one we haven't done yet. So we can drop down here. And when you complete them, it'll tell you which ones you're doing. It'll give you the name of the ones you're doing. I just cut some of that out, but it'll tell you. It won't tell you 5 of 7 or 6 of 7. It won't do it that way. But if you pull up the menu, it will show you how many of the ones with question marks you have. So there's only 7, so it's not like it's calculus to try to figure out how many you have to do left, how many you have left. It looks like a fast travel point down there as well. So here is this one. The little, the architecture that houses these look the same. It's these sort of square buildings or square structures. So when you see one, you can pretty much guess that on the other side of it is one of these dials. Okay, that one's done. Making progress. And I know in terms of, and there's a chest down there, by the way, which you may as well grab since you're already here. And there's a fast travel point on the other side of the chest, which you may as well grab as well since you're here. I know this makes it seem like this is all very fast to do. It's not. It probably took me like an hour and a half to do all of this. Because I was following my notes, and whenever I'd get lost, I'd go back to that fast travel point and start again. So if you decide to do them in game, I think it's a little bit better. So if you decide, okay, every day that I play, I'm going to do at least one of these Abyss Nexus gate thingies. I think that probably is the way to go, because then it doesn't get overwhelming. Yeah, there's a fast travel point, so we're going to grab that while we're here. I guess they don't really show up until you're close to them, because it wasn't always on the map until we got over here. So there is one more here, which I don't think we're going to ever get close enough to find it. We don't need it, because once you do this, there's no real reason for you to ever come back here. Yeah, I kept thinking about that. I was like, is there a reason? Will there be a reason for me to come back to the dimensional bonds or any of them? And the answer is no, not really. Well, unless whenever the DLC pops, which might not be for another year, you get to go back. But there are parts of the main map, the surface map, that wasn't explorable. But if you look at the map, you can see shapes on the map. To me, that says those are other areas that will unlock in the DLC. I could be totally wrong. I don't think I am. I think they're there for a reason. They're land masses, but you can't get there. So I definitely think that's a possibility. There's also a possibility they'll add another cluster to the Nexus, which would be easy to do since there are, I forget how many clusters, like seven or eight clusters, something like that. And each cluster has, 5 or 6 of these little islands on it. And some are easier to solve from a puzzle standpoint than others. Like, this isn't very difficult. It's tedious, number one. And if you can figure out a way to... Yeah, you can tell the other one is behind that structure ahead, where the wires are going into the back of it. If you can figure out a way to, in your mind, put markers to where you've already been, then it's easy, because then you won't get lost. For me, it was a little bit of a struggle because the coloring is all the same. There's one area that has a lot of trees. That's the only one that's distinct. So there's a tendency not to get lost in that one. And I think there may be chests in each of these areas as well. I think I found 3 of them. There may have been more. They only show up on the map if you get close to them. If you're not close to them, they won't show up. So, okay, this one is the ringing truth. They all have names. Okay, so I think is this the last one? This is either the last one or second to the last one. I can't remember. I can't keep counting. I didn't pull up the menu to show you guys. So this is at the door. You can see something behind the door. That something behind the door should look very familiar to you when the door opens. All right. We're going to go to a tower-like structure. There are 2... No. We're not going to go to a tower-like structure. I think we're going to go to the forest structure. Yeah, we're going to do that. And then we'll do the tower structure next. And again, you can see the structure that holds the dial in the middle. They all look the same from behind. So if you're scoping out an area in the distance and you're wondering where those things are, you just need to look for anything that looks like that. The wire's going into the back. It has this circular image on it. on the other side of it will be the dial. The game doesn't give you binoculars, so if you're struggling to see what's on the other, if you're struggling to see it, it may be difficult. But in any case, they all look the same in this regard. And you want to do the same thing. And a lot of people have the skill, and instead they still climb up and hit resist and force palm it. I'm not quite sure why they still do that. I mean, that's the way we learned, but once you unlock that other skill, there's no reason for you to do it that way. Okay. So there are two tower-looking ones. The one I just looked at, but there's another one. Not this one. They're not exactly alike. It's got to be over here. Yep, this is the tower. Okay. Yeah, there are two similar ones here, the tower-looking ones. You're gonna fly over and just fly right between that little gap. I don't guess you have to fly through it. You could fly over it if you want to. I'm gonna fly through it. I wonder where all this water comes from. A lot of these have waterfalls. Like, where is this water coming from? I mean, this is in the sky. So is it raining like hell below this area, or is it over an ocean somewhere? Okay. And that was the final one. And you will get a nice little cutscene. Not sure what this is actually doing. Very cosmic with metaphysical twinges to it that are never really fully explained, but nevertheless. There's White Crow and Alstus. Alstus? I think his name is Alstus. Hello, buddies. And you can obviously complete the game without ever having this happen. That square is what we're always walking towards when you see the cutscene of Kliff fast traveling. But he never reaches it, right? And now he does. As you can see, as he approaches it, he gets younger again. As the experience had aged him, and I sort of felt bad about that. I felt like it took so much out of him. But all you do is approach this. You don't. There's no way to interact with it. So again, the game still has some mysteries, but you've done Conqueror of the Abysses. Abysses? It seems like that's not really the plural for abyss, but maybe it is. But anyway, so we've done that. And now, and as you can see, I guess the developers didn't plan on what happens if you actually change Kliff's hairstyle. Because he had a little man bun thing going with a beard. So making him younger should have just turned that black, not necessarily put him back into the same style that he was before. But anyway, that's just a little, like, wait, what? So we've done all of the all the abysses. So now we want to go to the Axiom Nexus, that one, where the library is, where we actually started the game, or was early in the game, after we met Alstus. See that cube? That's what we were sort of walking towards, but now we know what the cube is. Actually, we don't know what the cube is, but we found the cube. So now you're able to access the upper floors of the library, which you could not do before. Now, you may be asking the question, well, why would I want to do that? It's just a library. Well, this library is the keeper of Kliff's story. The totality of his story, starting with Kliff 1, working all the way up to Kliff 107, and this Kliff is Kliff 108. Now, the game doesn't explain how you get to those other floors. So I actually ended up walking around in here looking for stairwells or something like that and couldn't find it. Then I thought, okay, the books are floating. Maybe I'm supposed to float with the books. That didn't happen. Then I realized, no, you have the capability of climbing up there anyway. And so that's what I eventually did. There are no books on the second level. So no worries. I'm just making sure that there wasn't anything hidden. There's not. So then you go up to the third level, and this is where you will find 6 volumes. Basically, the story of how, well, you can look at it different ways. How much powerful beings manipulated humans to get the outcome that they wanted, or, understanding why Kliff is the way Kliff is, or understanding some of the backstory about White Crow. So this is volume 1. There's 6 of them, and we're going to read them. They're short. This is Kliff number 1. The time leap allowed us to escape Umbra, yet it changed nothing. Umbra will surely arrive in this era. Oh my god. I should have slowed this stuff down. Kliff 3. We observed the power of Umbra near the musket of Demonis. There must be one within the lands of Pywell capable of stopping it. We must look to... And that was Kliff. That was another version of Kliff. Number 4. At last we found the one we sought. Again, Kliff number 4. These numbers represent each of the iterations of Kliff, by the way, not the pages. I attempted to reach him directly within his mind. He's chosen to ignore our calling. That's Kliff number 7. I read these out of order. Number 5. So the Shays, those kids, actually are important to the story, but you don't know that, right? So everybody's in cahoots, right? The children, White Crow, everybody sort of knows about this. Master Zhizhong, who I don't think we ever met. We met a couple of masters. We met Master Du. I don't think we met a Master Zhuzhong. We went to a Zhuzhong pagoda. So again, there are 6 volumes, and each of them, which one is this? All right, this is 6. So we don't want to read them out of order. I probably missed one back there. I'm going to have to go back and get it. Oh, nope, there's one. Okay, this is volume 2. So you can just pause it and read it since this is moving faster. I wish I had realized that. I should have been reading it in real time so that I wouldn't have moved from the pages so quickly. This is 17. Kirish was supposed to be his ally. That was the creature we fought in Hernand. Hex Marie is actually part of White Crow. That's the part that was taken away by Umbra and then corrupted. Number 19, 19th version. The witches were supposed to help. And I think they did their part. Number 23, I'm sorry, number 25, he's still too weak, so they decided to give him more strengths. They called the 2 witches from the east. Kliff number 26, he got too comfortable with Jean and became indifferent. Kliff number 35, he ended up being friends with Mirden, which was a mistake. I can understand why. Kliff number 36, he didn't have motivation to restore balance. So each step of the way, then they added Damien to the mix, and that didn't work. And so as you can see, they keep coming up with these iterations of Kliff, and I guess they would have just tried forever. It just seems like I mean, that was number 30 something, and this version of Kliff is number 108. This is volume 5. We have 5 and 6. We need 3 and 4. That's 4. Okay, so 3 must be back here. We missed it, so let's go back and get 3, and then we'll read the other ones. Yeah, so one of the criticisms of the game is that the story was a weak story. The problem is the story was sort of locked behind this lore, and I don't know whether it was always locked behind a lore or whether the developers decided to fix it by adding this later, which they certainly could have, since you can't get to this unless you get the true ending of the game. And it would seem to me that if you want people to understand the game, you wouldn't hide it so deep in this part where most people will never get to this part of the game. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's volume 3. All right, what version of Kliff are we up to? Number 39. Okay, Demonis invaded Hernand. Kliff number 45, lost all of his comrades and became Goyen. All right, they added Unka when they realized he needed a strong ally. That was Kliff number 46. Number 47. Okay, he got trapped. Goyen got trapped within Umbra. Number 48. Marnie showed up. And I think Marnie will be a part of whatever DLC they have because Marnie showed up late in the game. Prince Price was actually cut out of the game. Originally, he was supposed to be in the game. Goyen started using the power for his own gain and then became corrupted. That was Kliff number 58, I think. So as you can see, they kept trying. I mean, you gotta give them credit for being persistent. But I guess if you're immortal, you can be you can afford to be persistent. You just keep doing things over and over and over again. Eventually, you figure you're gonna get it right. Kliff number 60. All right, they gave him some confidence. However, his confidence led to being competitive. Kliff number 61. He became overly sensitive. All right. Cliff number 62. They gave him a greater sense of responsibility. Okay, then he decided to kill anyone who was a threat. Okay, so Cliff number 66. They decided to remove his emotions, which is why Kliff is the way he is. Early on, I have a psychology background. I kept saying, God, he has really flat affect. He has no emotions. And I didn't know whether that was just, poor writing, poor directing. It turns out it wasn't. It was intentional. Then Caliburn appears. Cliff number 72, Cliff number 77. They discovered that Umbra was behind all of this. So Umbra, this being of pure power, is apparently becoming corrupt. At least that's what we think. Archive number 5. Cliff number 78. They added Marius. Okay, and they said that was a mistake. Their deaths drove Kliff a little bit mad. Number 82. Dwayne turned his back on them. Then he crafted an attachment to Shane. Shane too went astray. So they kept trying these things. This total, it's like God's playing with toys. They just kept doing this. Cliff 83, the Greymanes are scattered. Then they brought in Black Star with Cliff number 89. But the Black Star didn't like that version of Cliff. Number 90, Cliff offered his assistance to someone. And then it led them to discover what? Maybe, just maybe, we forgot something very important. Cliff number 98. They finally realized that, taking away all this stuff from Cliff was not a good idea. Cliff number 99, they asked Goyen to guide Cliff number 99. I wish we'd seen more of that in the game. I think that would have been nice to see. Although it sort of breaches the whole time-space continuum thing with you talking to your younger self. I must have missed a page somewhere. Let's see. Let's do 6, and then we'll go back and find whatever page we missed. Okay. So this is where Umbra devoured part of White Crow, and that's how Hex Marie was created. Okay, we read these already. So basically what you're getting is the story of Kliff, why he is the way he is. And, I don't know. Okay, this is the 6th one. Kliff number 100. So they still are frustrated. They still can't figure out what went wrong, although they're getting closer to it. Kliff 106. Every time the Eye of Ember seems on the verge of destruction. So they're close. And Kliff number 107 was the version just before us. And I forgot to turn the page. Sorry about that, guys. There should have been one more page to turn. There we go. And of course, I didn't read it. Sorry about that. So anyway, that basically said that was number 107, and we, the audience, is Kliff number 108, or we playing as Kliff is Kliff number 108, which sort of pulls you into the game and makes you feel more a part of the story, right? Because this is us. We are the ones governing Kliff's behavior, right? We're deciding what Kliff does, what he doesn't do, who he helps, who he doesn't help, who he fights, who he doesn't fight. Outside of the story main quests, everything else is decided upon by us, right? We have, in an open world game like this, you have a tremendous amount of freedom to do whatever you want to do, outside of the main quest. So with the main quest stuff, if you're playing the game and you're going to complete the game, there's certain things you have to do. But there are other parts that you don't have to do. The number of people Kliff helped, the number of outlaws captured, the number of little tasks that you do that can sometimes seem tedious. You have choices in that. And so, as Cliff number 108, we are able to make those choices. Um, and whatever the outcome is, it's up to us in terms of how we make the choices. So, like I said, the unfortunate part is that most people will never get to this part of the game. I think it was something like 6% at the time. I don't know what it is today, but at one point it was like 6% would get to this part and would do all of the things necessary, meet the conditions necessary for getting the true ending. And that's too bad because I think it's really nice. However, I wish that Pearl Abyss had sort of put those elements of the story within the game. Maybe as we're going along to different regions of the game, finding a volume in each of those regions that explains this to Cliff, I think would have been really helpful, would have been really interesting, and would have created a very different dynamic. Because what you don't know is, how does Cliff feel about this? How does he feel knowing that there have been 107 other versions of him that were manipulated by these very powerful beings? Or does he just not care because he doesn't have emotions? I don't know. So, anyway, I just think it's a fascinating game. I really, really do hope that they don't do what Black Myth did, which is to say they were going to do a DLC, and then, of course, now there's no DLC. It's just going to be another game, which is very annoying for a game that was as good as it was. So, hopefully, they will do a DLC or another game and turn this into a series. So I figured I'd end with Black Star. I haven't used them as much as I'd hoped to use them because there's so many areas that he's restricted from going. But I figured this is a good way to sort of end it. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on this journey. This will be the last video. There will be no other bonuses. I will likely continue to do certain things in the game to try to sort of, because this is one you can always go back to and do certain things, and I think I will do that. But I will be moving on now to Neo 3. But I want to thank you guys for staying with me on this very long journey. This is probably the longest playlist on my YouTube channel. But it was worth it. This was a great game. I've said that before, and I would recommend it to anybody. It's fun. There's a lot to do after you get beyond the janky controls at the very beginning, because I played the game shortly after it came out, before all of the updates. And so as the updates happened, the game got better and better and better. So thank you guys for joining me. This is Reg with Pax Area Gaming saying much appreciated, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. And if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Take care.